Hello, welcome to my video. Today's video will be on Windows 7 operating system and how to use it for networking. Now, by networking I mean by how to connect your Windows 7 computer to a router or switch or both so that you can go ahead and get out onto the internet. And we'll be doing that by going over that today. So let's get started. First with this video, let me tell you how I'm going to be using my demonstrations. I'm going to be using a virtual environment, and the application that I'm using for that is known as VirtualBox. And just for people who do not know, VirtualBox was an application that was created at Sun Microsystems, and then when Sun Microsystems got bought out by Oracle, then Oracle assumed the ownership of VirtualBox. VirtualBox is free. It's a free application. If you are using a Windows machine, you can go to the VirtualBox download site, which is somewhere, I'm guessing through Oracle, and you can download it there. I'm using it through my Linux machine, so since I have Linux through my repositories, I can go ahead and download it. In either case, let's go ahead and get started. Now, as I said before, this video is going to be talking about networking your Windows 7 machine so that you can go ahead and get out onto the internet. There are many reasons for why you would want to network your machine. Getting onto the internet is just one of them. Another reason could be you got more than one machine in your house, more than one computer in your house that has Windows on it or another operating system, and you may want to go ahead and share that connection, that internet connection, among all of your machines. Or maybe you have a friend who comes over and is going to stay for a little while and they need internet. You can usually do that through some type of a network. So I got a little presentation here. Let's go ahead and go through that. The first thing that I want to show you is how your network or your computer would connect to your network, and that's usually through devices known as interfaces. Okay, and once an interface connects to the network, you might have a need to look at that interface and see the things that it's connected to. So to start this off with, we're going to need the command line. Now, to get to the command line in Windows is one of several things. There's more than one way to get to the command line on Windows. We'll go over one of them now. So with your mouse arrow, if you'll go down to the Windows Start orb, left click on that, then you go to All Programs, left click on that, and then go up to Accessories, left click on that, and then you should see the command line right there. It'll say Command Prompt. There's another way that you can get to the command prompt. That's by going down to the Start orb again, left clicking on that. You can go to the search box here. Oh, sorry about that. And then you can type in CMD. That's just short for command line. And then press enter on your keyboard. And as you can see, that brings up your command line window. So either way, you can get to it from either place. Now, the first thing that we want to look at on your Windows 7 computer is the interfaces. As I said earlier, that's the that tells you how your interface connects to your network. First, it'll be your LAN network, which is an acronym for Local Area Network, and then from there you might go to, if you want to get out onto the internet, you'll be going through your default gateway, which is through your internet service provider. Well, the first default gateway is going to be your router at your house, and then from there you're going to go out into your ISP's router. One of many that they will have. But in either case, to look at the interface here on your computer, you're going to need to type in a command. Now, the one basic command is going to be ipconfig, okay, and then you just press enter on your keyboard. And as you can see, this will show you your interface information. Okay, give me 1 second here. We'll go to Mark. Okay, good. All right, and as you can see, there's a lot of information here, but for now what we're going to be interested in is this one right here. Okay, that's your IP version 4 IP address. Okay, every computer or every device, whether it be a computer, whether it be a phone, whether it be a tablet, every device that needs to get onto the internet is going to have some type of address to identify it so that it can get onto the network. And in this case, for my computer to get onto the network, I have what is known as an IP version 4 address. Now, in the coming months or in the coming years, you will have what is also known as an IPv6 or IP version 6 address. Here in America, as of December 2013, we're still working off of IP version 4. So, in either case, you have your IP address, you have your subnet mask, and your default gateway. And just to keep things simple, we'll go over what your default gateway is. Just your router. Okay, and this is your information here. Alright, now there are a few things that you may want to do as far as troubleshooting. Let's say that you couldn't get an IP address, or let's say for some reason it just wasn't working. The IP address that you do have, it's not working. So what's a way to see if it works, or see if we can fix it? From the command line, you can run a few commands. Okay, the first one you can run is just going to be the same as before, with a few switches added onto it. Now we go ipconfig, and then you hit the space bar, and you can go /all, and that'll show you all of the information about any and all interfaces that you have on your computer. And you just press enter, and as you can see, this is the information that was gleaned from your command. This one right here, ipconfig /all. And as you can see, it shows my computer name, my DNS information, and then you can scroll down and it shows information about my let's see here, my network card, whether or not I have DHCP enabled, yada yada yada. DNS server information, all that good garbage. Good. Now, next thing, let's go ahead and clear this screen. We'll do that with the CLS command. Press enter. Now, let's say you was trying to get an internet connection, and maybe you had an IP address, but it just wasn't helping you get on to the internet. Well, the first thing that you can do is release your old IP address, and then try and request a new IP address. All of your if it's a DHCP IP address, it's going to be coming from your internet service provider or your ISP. So to try and release it and renew it, we type in the command. Let me just hit that up arrow on my keyboard, and it's going to be ipconfig /release. That's going to release your old IP address. So press enter. Let's see. Alright, it released your old IP address. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to try and request another IP address, a fresh one, from your ISP. So you type in ipconfig/renew. Give it a few moments. Doesn't look like we were able to do it. Okay. Here's another thing you might want to try. Let's see here. Let's just make sure we do have. Okay, it's not showing up. All right. Let's go ahead and exit out of this, because there may be another reason why you can't get that command to work, and the other reason might be because you're not signed in as an administrator. Administrator has the right to do whatever modifications on a computer that it wants to. So let's go down to the start orb, left click on the start orb again. We'll come to our command prompt. We'll right click and choose run as administrator. Your UAC will come on, and just press yes. And there we go. Now, let's try this command again. First, let's do an ipconfig and then press enter. You have your information. Excellent. So, let's clear the screen. If we do an ipconfig space /release, press enter. Okay. And then let's do an ipconfig /renew. Give it a moment. Alright, ipconfig. It should come up with a new IP address. Or if it comes up with the same one, you'll be able to get fresh information as far as getting back online. Okay, I guess because I'm in an virtual, let's see here. Oh, wait a minute. Alright, let's clear the screen again. Let's do an ipconfig, enter. Okay, you do have a new IP address. Alright, so good. Well, your old IP address has been released and renewed, so that's still the same IP address. So that's one tool that you can use. Now, let's see here. Alright, now the next thing we want to talk about is your modem, your router, and your switch. Okay, so I forgot to get a picture of the modem, but let's go online and let's see, ask me later. Let's go to Google Images. Okay, and let's type in the word modem. Modem, whichever. Okay, and then as we can see here, these are what modems look like. Okay, it depends upon your internet service provider, but if you want to get out onto the internet, at least from your home, through conventional means, there are many other ways of doing it. But through conventional means, you'll use what is known as an ISP, which is your Internet Service Provider. And once you get an ISP, they will give you a router or a device that is known as a router combination. They will give you a modem or a modem with the combination modem/router device. Okay? And all a modem is basically a device that connects from your computer to that modem, and then from that modem it usually has some type of a wire connected behind it, and it goes through your wall, and then from there it goes outside and it's connected to whatever device your ISP uses to connect to get back to your ISP's main lines. Okay, but you need this or a device similar to this in order to get out onto the internet, usually through your internet service provider. There are many internet service providers. Mine is through Bright House Networks here in Central Florida. You may use another one in another area. You may use Comcast. You may use AT&T. Telephone companies are usually ISPs, so are cable companies, and I believe even satellite companies are known as ISPs. So it just depends upon which area you're in and which service is available to you. They are the ones that will provide you with a modem. And that's what one modem looks like. Yours may not look like that. It just depends upon your internet service provider and the equipment that they have available at that time. So let's go ahead and just, I don't know if we're going to close. Let's go ahead and close it. We don't need it anymore. And that's what a modem is. Let's see. The next thing we want to talk about is a router. A router, you can use a router for connecting more than one computer to your network. And then through that router, you can use that to share all of your computers' internet access. Okay, I didn't really explain that right, but that's all a router is. It's just used for connecting all of your computers to the network, and then by that you can go ahead and all use the router to get out onto the network. And the next device is known as a switch. Okay, and with the switch, it basically does the same thing with a router. You can use a switch to connect multiple computers to your switch, thereby connecting it to your network for the same purpose of getting out onto the internet or getting out onto the local area network, maybe at your home, at your school, at your university, or at your job. Now, I have pictures of the router and switch, and let me go ahead and show you that. I'll get to that in a minute. This is a Netgear router. Now, it's a Netgear router, and that's my router. That's what type of router I have. It also happens to be wireless. So if you're thinking about getting a router for your home network for local use, I would suggest getting a wireless router. I don't know if by the time this video comes out if they sell only wireless routers, but this is a router, and this is my router. I don't use this particular router, but I do use another router, and it's a Netgear router. And as I said, it comes with wireless capabilities. Wireless capabilities meaning that you can connect to the router wirelessly, and then from there you can get out onto the internet. And as you can see, it does have conventional ports. These ports here are known as Ethernet ports. Okay, and that's what you connect from your computer. You're going to connect an Ethernet port from your computer to the router Ethernet port, and then your router is going to be connected to your modem, and then from there you get out onto the internet. This is a switch. This is my switch. This is one of them anyway. It's a Netgear switch. There are many different varieties of switches and routers. You have Belkin, you have Buffalo, you have all different types. You have Linksys, you have Cisco. There are several different companies, and they all have their own variety of switches and routers. Okay, so that's my switch. As you can see in the front, those are the Ethernet ports as well. So, and again, what you may, if you're thinking about once you first start using your router or once you first start building your home network, as I said, the first thing you're going to probably need, you're going to definitely need a router, and you're going to need a modem. And you connect from your router. This is the Ethernet port that you connect going from out of your router into your modem. Okay, and then you connect your physical computers through these Ethernet ports. Okay, and if you have any wireless, then you can go ahead and configure your wireless through this router too for your computers. Now, let's say you want to expand your network, which is something that you may do in the future. All right, you're gonna want to have a computer for you, maybe your wife and your children. Okay, so in order to upgrade or build up your local home network, the best thing to do, I find, if it's going to be done physically anyway, is to do it through a switch. Okay, they're easy, they're cheap. You don't have to do any configuration if you don't want to. All you got to do is connect the power supply to it, get you a couple of Ethernet cords, which I'll show you in just a minute, and connect from the switch to the router. Okay, that way you can have an Ethernet port in one go into your son's room, and then an Ethernet port connected going into your daughter's room, one for you and your wife and whoever else. And then you'll have a connection going from one of these ports, usually this one or this one, the main port, I'll call it for lack of a better term, and you can connect it to your router. And that's how you can upgrade your network. Very simple, very easy. Okay, that's how I do mine. I got an Ethernet cord in my room, Ethernet cord in each of my children's room, and then an Ethernet cord in the living room for connecting our Xbox or whatever else that we have. And then I got a main cord that connects from this switch back to the router, and then I got to connect it from the router back to the modem. I hope that's not too confusing for you. Let's see, whatever. Oh, okay. We also have what is known here as a NIC. That's an acronym for Network Interface Card. This NIC right here happens to be with a PCI connection. And what you do is you crack open your computer, you put this card on your PCI slot, close up your computer, take your Ethernet cord, bring it out of here from your Nic card to either your modem directly, or to your router, or to your switch. And it's just as simple as that. And so let's go ahead and look, and you'll see what an Ethernet cord looks like. This is what an Ethernet cord looks like. There'll be many different colors. They're not all yellow. Some of them are blue, some of them are red, what have you. What you want to pay particular attention to, though, is the ends here. Okay, as you can see, they look like telephone ends, but they're a little bigger. Okay, and you just take one end, connect it to your computer, take the other end, connect it to your device, vice versa. It doesn't matter which is which. And like I said, that device can be either directly connected to your modem, or it can be connected to your switch, or it can be connected to your router. And you just take these ends right here and you connect them to whatever port you have available. Not this port, because this port here is made specifically to connect between your router and your internet service provided modem. But yeah, you can connect it to either one of these Ethernet ports, whichever one you choose or prefer. Alright, and this is an Ethernet card. Okay, So these are the devices that if you decide you want a home network, these are some devices that you may want to consider, okay, for using for getting connected to your internet. Now there's another device that I did not show you as well. If you want to connect to your network wirelessly, and for that we do need to go back to the internet again. Let's see here. There we go. And as before, let's go to Google Images. And that device is known as a wireless NIC. Wireless Nic Card. And this is just a little simple basic review of what they look like. Okay. This right here goes into a laptop, an older style laptop that had what is known as a PCI NMI interface, or PCI MCIA NIC card. And the PCI NCIA is a port on your on some of the older laptops. But anyway, these are some what are known as wireless NICs, wireless network interface cards, and they basically do the same thing as the other NIC that I showed you here. They do the exact same thing as this NIC does, except they do it wirelessly. This is a wired NIC, okay, and it connects directly to either a switch, a router, or a modem, and it does that through this wire, through this Ethernet wire. But with these wireless NICs, you don't need a cord, okay? All you have to do is just connect this up to your computer. If you have a laptop, I would suggest getting a USB wireless NIC. That would be for easier installation. And then once you do that, you make your configurations, you should be able to get out onto the internet wirelessly through your wireless NIC. And I think I will go ahead and close it this time because we are done with that. Let's see, the only other thing we need to talk about is a few things. Let's hear. Okay, let's talk about some basic tools that you can use. Basically, for troubleshooting, you can use these tools. We're going to go over what a ping is. Okay, and then we can go over Netstat, traceroute, and what a DNS server and DHCP servers are. So let's minimize that. Let's come back here. And let's go over, let's say, the first tool that we will want to go over today is a very simple one, but a very popular one, and that's going to be known as ping. And ping is a command that comes with most computers. It comes with most operating systems, excuse me, not computers, but most operating systems. And it's very simple to use, depending on whether you have Windows, Windows XP, Vista, or 7. The command is basically still going to be the same. Even if you have a different operating system, the command is going to be the same. And that command is just ping. Okay. And to see what different commands you can use or switches you can use with ping, you hit the spacebar /?, or I believe just help will do as well. Let's see if help will do it. Okay, well, let me clear the screen here a bit. Alright, well, you can definitely find out what other commands to use by hitting the /?, enter, and as you can see, there are a bunch of switches here that you can use. Switches, flags, however you want to call them. You can go over that later by yourself if you want to, but to give you a basic overview of how to use it, you just type in ping space, and then you can use www.google.com. Press enter, and it will go through a ping. Now, what the ping is basically it's a command that allows you to see if your computer is getting a signal when it gets onto the internet. Okay, so you use the ping, and it's an old military concept, especially from submarines. Submarines would use the ping to see what's down at the surface bottom of the ocean, or if they can find other things in the ocean, other submarines, other ships, other boats. So ping is a very good command to use to check and see if your if your computer can get out onto the internet. And also you can use ping without the www. You can just go ping and then google.com. Press enter. And as we can see, we are getting a good signal. Okay, so that's always good. Now, let's see here. Let's go over the next command, which will be netstat. So let's clear that. And the command you will use for that is just netstat. Now, using netstat and then / question mark so that we can see which switches and flags we can use. And there they go, right there. Using netstat, you can use that to see, check on the connection that your computer has going out onto the internet. CLS will clear the screen. And so let's go ahead and run the command with the switch of a -A. So you do net stat -A. The A is a switch, meaning all. It'll show you all connections for your going from your computer out onto the internet. You press enter, and there you go. Now, as you can see, moving from the far left over to the right, you have your protocol. That's up. If you look up at the top here, this is the this is what I'm talking about right here. Let's do this so that we can look at it. So in the first column here, you have your protocol. In your second column, you have your local address, which is your IP address. Okay, and then from here you have a foreign IP address. That's whatever address you are connecting to, and then the state in which that is happening. In this case, is showing that it's listening. Okay, and so that's basically how you read it. Now, let's see here. Let's see if it showed me. All right, I tell you what. Let's do this. Let's go back on to the internet again. Alright, and now let's bring up our command line. Now if you type in or hit the up arrow on your keyboard, netstat -A, press enter, it should show you that you will see it should show you the connection that you're using to get out onto the internet. Let's see. Listening. Established. There we go, right there. All right. So as you can see, you got the protocol that's being used, the local address, which is me. I'm the 10.0.2.15, and then that colon, and then that other number, that's the port you're going out through. Okay, and then if you look over here at your foreign IP address, or your foreign IP address, that's what you were connecting to. Okay, which in this case was MSN, and then over to the far right, you can see that it was established, which means that we got a good signal and we were able to get out onto the internet. So that's how you use Netstat. Okay, so let's go ahead and close that one more time. Screen zoom back in. Let's look at another command here, and that command will be traceroute. Now, quick recap. Ping is for seeing if you got a signal. Netstat is used for checking out that signal to see what you're connected to and what's connected to you from the internet or your network. And the next command we want to go over today is called traceroute. Now, if you want to find out what other commands and switches you can use, you just do traceroute space / ? and you'll see the flags that you can use for that. Alright, so basically traceroute you will use when you want to see what route your signal is taking when it gets out from your computer through your modem or switch, or through your router or switch to your modem, and then from there where it goes. Usually the first place it hits is your ISP's gateway or default gateway, and then from there it'll go through several other routes to get out onto the internet to get to your destination. So let's just go ahead and run the command. You want to choose something to traceroute, and traceroute is basically a more advanced ping. So let's traceroute Google. So you do a GRERT space, and again you can either type in .google.com, and then you just press enter. Now, as you can see, working from the far left, you have a number 1, then a number 2, then a number 3. Okay, these are what is known as hops, and a hop is every time when you get out onto the internet, you go through routers. Okay, and each router you hit is basically a hop. So that's the first router I hit, which, as you can see, is my default gateway, which is the 10.0.2.2. That's my default gateway. Or I'm sorry, that's my I believe that's my Ethernet. No, it's my, since I'm using a virtual environment, that's my virtual side of the router, and then number 2 is my actual router, and then number 3 is your ISP, and then so on and so on. So hop 4, that looks like that's an actual router on my ISP, and so on and so on. Now, with traceroute, you would do a maximum of 30 hops. Okay, and then that's how you can map out where you're how you're getting out onto the internet. And if you look at number 14, where it shows * for the 3 MSs, which is milliseconds, and then it says request timeout, that's probably a router that is firewalled. Okay, well, they're all firewalled, but that's probably one that's not returning a ping, for lack of a better term. And I believe that it's because it's blocked. Whoever's listening to this video, if you have a different opinion, go ahead and put it in the comments. But I believe that's what that means here for me. So let's just go ahead and do a CLS to clear that screen. And we'll zoom back out. And let's go to our document again. Okay, so we've went over several things today. We've went over what your interfaces are and how to get to them, what modems, routers, and switches are. We've talked about your ISP, your internet service provider, and we've talked about some of the tools that you can use to make sure to see if you're getting out onto the internet. We've talked about ping, we've talked about Netstat, and traceroute. So the last thing that we want to talk about will be DNS servers and DHCP servers. A DNS server is, let's see, domain naming system or service. Okay, and a DNS server is a simple term to tell you what it is. It's just a server that will take the IP address of the website that you're trying to get to, and it'll convert it to what is known as the host name. So I guess we will need to use our browser one more time. Let's go back to our Windows machine. We will go ahead and left click on our browser. Okay, now my home page on this browser is MSN. MSN, the IP address, or I'm sorry, the host name of MSN is msn.com. Okay, so the host name is msn.com. The IP address that's attached to that host name is different. And the way you can find out your IP address is you go back to your command line, and you can either ping or traceroute it. An easy thing to do is just to ping it. So you type pmsn.com. Let me zoom in on that so you can see it. Oh, and I spelled it wrong. Okay, no big deal. Let's go back over. I could have just did the arrow, but I'll do it this way anyway. So it's msn.com. So that's your host name, msn.com. Press enter, and your DNS server will convert that from a host name to an IP address, which you can see here is 65.55.206.228. Now it's showing as timed out. That probably means that the router for MSN is set not to accept pings, which is a normal thing. It's a security precaution that some companies will use. Let's ping another one. Ping cnet.com, and then press enter. And see, as you can see, cnet.com, which is the host name for CNET, has been converted to its IP address, and it's the DNS service or the DNS server that does that. Now, is there a DNS server in your house? Your router might have a simple version of a DNS server, or you may be using an application that routes you to a different DNS server. Normally, it's going to be your internet service provider and several governments that have an actual DNS server, as well as different companies. But anyway, that's what a DNS server does. It changes your host name to its IP address equivalent or counterpart. Okay, so let's just zoom out again, and I guess this time, instead of closing the browser, we'll just minimize the browser. Okay, we'll come back up here. That's what a DNS server is, and that's what it does basically. Now, the last server we're going to talk about today is known as a DHCP server. Now, you can find out information about your DHCP server as well as your DNS server with the ipconfig command, and that's just ipconfig, and then you can do enter. Oops. Well, it shows you a little bit about your DNS. I'm sorry. Let's try another command. ipconfig /all. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Then you can scroll back up, and as you can see right here, well, hold on. Let's mark it so you can know exactly which one I'm talking about. Here is what is known as a DHCP server. Okay, now like I said, you might have a simple one that's connected to your router. DHCP is an acronym. It stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. And for lack of a better term, the term I'm going to use today is going to be very simple. It just it assigns an IP address to your computer so that you can get out onto the network and surf the internet. And it's going to be your internet service provider that actually you get your DHCP IP address from. But anyway, that's what a DHCP server is. It's just a server that once you try and get out onto the well, first you're going to need to get onto the network, your local network, and then from there your internet service provider's network. Once you get onto your your internet service provider network, it's going to assign you a DHCP IP address, whether it's IP version 4 or version 6. You're going to get that from your internet service provider. And so, for lack of a better term, that is what a DHCP server is and what it does. So let's come back here. I think we've explained everything. Okay, so this was just a basic video on how to navigate and get to the different information that you'll need for your computer as far as your network, whether it be your local area network, which is usually at your house, or it could be on at your job or at a school or university. Okay, and then all of the devices that are related to it therein. So I think that's enough for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope it's taught you something. Thank you very much. Hope to see you guys later. Bye-bye.